My name is Sarah Thompson, and I'm a 40-year-old single mother. I was born and raised in Maplewood, a small town in New England known for its seasonal beauty, especially the breathtaking fall foliage. 15 years ago, I married David Miller, my high school sweetheart. He was a hard-working man employed at a local construction company. On weekends, he enjoyed building tree houses for the neighborhood children. Our life wasn't luxurious, but it was filled with love. 2 years after our wedding, our daughter Lily was born. She was special from the moment she arrived. Even as a baby, her curiosity about the world around her was extraordinary. By her second birthday, she could already read simple sentences, much to our amazement. David was determined to nurture our daughter's talents and provide her with every educational opportunity possible. On holidays, we'd visit science museums and art galleries to stimulate Lily's intellectual curiosity. When she turned 5, a professor from the local university remarked that she might be a once-in-a-century genius. However, our happiness was short-lived. When Lily was 7, David lost his life in a construction site accident. Our world turned dark in an instant. On the day of the funeral, little Lily wore a black dress and behaved with adult-like composure. But when she'd sneak into my bed at night, I felt my heart constrict with sorrow. After David's death, I managed financially thanks to the insurance money, but I couldn't fill the emptiness in my heart. While I tried to stay strong for Lily's sake, there were nights when I couldn't stop the tears from flowing. It was during this time, 2 years ago, that I met Michael Anderson. He was a 42-year-old man working at a local real estate company, with a history of divorce. At first, I was touched by his kindness and thoughtfulness. He treated Lily as if she were his own daughter. 6 months after meeting Michael, we got married. It was a small ceremony in the local church, but the whole town came to bless us. Lily and I were filled with hope for the start of our new family. Little did we know then that this hope wouldn't last long. About 3 months into the marriage, Michael's behavior began to change subtly. At first, it was small things. He started coming home late for dinner more often, making excuses about being busy at work. I tried to understand, but I couldn't shake off a feeling of unease. One night, Michael came home reeking of alcohol. He said he'd been entertaining clients, but his eyes were unfocused. When I expressed my concern, he suddenly became angry and shouted, "Shut up." Lily rushed out of her room at the sound of his voice and stood between us. "Don't yell at Mom," she cried. Michael flinched for a moment but quickly recovered, saying, "You insolent child," and raised his hand as if to strike her. I instinctively hugged Lily and stopped Michael's hand. From that night on, the atmosphere in our home changed completely. Michael's verbal abuse and rough behavior became a daily occurrence, and Lily and I lived in constant tension. Just hearing his footsteps coming home would make my body tremble. One day, Lily approached me with a worried look. "Mom, I'm scared of Michael. He seems to be looking into Dad's insurance money a lot," she told me. I was surprised but tried to reassure her, saying, "It's okay, he's probably just thinking about our household finances." But inside, my anxiety was growing. That night, after Michael had gone to bed, I checked his computer. What I found there was shocking. Michael had thoroughly investigated my financial situation and even searched for ways to get hold of the insurance money. I froze in fear. The next day, I told Lily the truth. She wasn't surprised and said, "I knew it. I've been using AI to analyze Michael's behavior patterns." I was amazed by my daughter's insight but worried about what to do next. I considered divorce, but I was too scared to go through with it, fearing Michael's reaction. Given his violent tendencies, I couldn't rule out the worst-case scenario. But staying together was no longer an option either. Every day felt like hell. Lily understood my dilemma. Her words, "Mom, it's going to be okay. We'll get through this together," saved me many times. However, I still couldn't bring myself to take concrete action. Meanwhile, Michael's behavior continued to worsen. He'd suddenly throw things at me while I was doing housework or make unreasonable demands. I found myself constantly trying to gauge his mood, feeling like I was losing my former self. Lily quietly continued gathering data. Even when she suggested, "Mom, we have enough evidence now. Let's go to the police," I hesitated. I was afraid that if the evidence wasn't sufficient, it would only anger Michael more. As these days dragged on, an event occurred that would dramatically change our fate. Ironically, it was Michael falling into a trap of his own making. As Michael's violent behavior escalated day by day, Lily silently continued collecting data. She had been using her self-made AI program to analyze Michael's behavior patterns in detail. One evening, Lily rushed to me with urgency. "Mom, this is serious." Lily's voice was filled with alarm. "Michael is planning something." When I analyzed his computer history, I found a sharp increase in searches related to poisons. I gasped. "Surely not." Lily continued, "He seems to be gathering information about poisons that are hard to detect when mixed with food." "Mom, I think he's planning to." As I hugged Lily, who couldn't finish her sentence, I felt my mind go blank. All the anxiety and fear I'd been feeling suddenly became very real. That night, Michael came home in an unusually good mood. "Let's make tomorrow a special day. I'll cook up something special," he said. Lily and I exchanged glances at his words. The next day, Michael was in the kitchen from early morning, preparing a pot roast. It was an eerie sight to see him carefully cutting vegetables and roasting meat, something he never usually did. While watching him, I casually asked, "Is there anything I can help with?" "No, I've got this." "Leave it to me today," Michael answered with a smile, but his eyes weren't smiling. In her room, Lily was monitoring Michael's movements using a small camera. Her tablet displayed what was happening in the kitchen. "Mom, look," Lily whispered. Michael just took something out of a small bag and sprinkled it on the pot roast. We held our breath as we watched the screen. Sure enough, it showed Michael adding something to the dish with unnatural movements. As dinner time approached, a tense atmosphere filled the house. On the table sat the pot roast, emitting a delicious aroma. But now, that aroma was a symbol of fear. "Well, let's eat," Michael said with a broad smile. I especially want you to try it, Sarah. With trembling hands, I picked up my fork and brought it close to the meat. At that moment, Lily suddenly stood up. Wait, Mom. I'll taste it first. Michael flinched at Lily's unexpected action. You. But Lily ignored him, took a portion of the pot roast onto her plate, and took a bite. Then, smiling sweetly, she said, "It's delicious, Michael." I could see Michael's face turn pale. He hurriedly started eating too, but his hands were visibly shaking. A few minutes later, Michael suddenly let out a pained voice. "Ugh, it hurts." He fell from his chair and collapsed on the floor. He started foaming at the mouth and coughing up blood. I jumped up in panic, shouting, "We need to call an ambulance." But Lily calmly said, "There's no need. He's getting what he deserves. Karma." I was shocked by Lily's words. But Lily continued, "It's okay, Mom. I calculated that Michael would collapse. But he won't die. The poison he used isn't a lethal dose. He'll just suffer for a while." I trembled with fear, amazed at Lily's calm analysis. "What do you mean?" Lily looked at me with a serious gaze and began to reveal the whole truth. Michael remained on the floor, his face contorted in pain. The foam and blood he had coughed up were gradually staining the white carpet in the living room. The scene was like a nightmare. "Lily, what's going on?" I asked my daughter in a trembling voice. "How do you know about the poison Michael used?" Lily took a deep breath and started explaining. "Mom, I've been monitoring Michael's actions all along. When I found out he was trying to obtain poison, I immediately took countermeasures." "Countermeasures?" I repeated in confusion. "Yes. I replaced the poison Michael purchased with a harmless substance. What's making him suffer now isn't real poison, but a drug that temporarily upsets his system." I was speechless. To think that my 12-year-old daughter had taken such bold action. A mixture of fear and amazement swirled inside me. "But how did you?" Lily continued, "I used AI to analyze all the data from Michael's computer and smartphone. His behavior patterns, purchase history, search history, everything. Then I identified where he was hiding the poison and replaced it." I held my head in my hands. "But if we did something like that, wouldn't we be criminally liable too?" "Don't worry. We have all the evidence," Lily said confidently. She took out her tablet and showed me the screen. It displayed a vast amount of data proving Michael's criminal plans. "This is data extracted from Michael's computer. There are records of him purchasing poison, investigations into your insurance money, and even..." Lily hesitated for a moment. "Evidence of his past crimes." "Past crimes?" I gasped. Lily nodded quietly. "Michael has a criminal record. His previous wife also died under suspicious circumstances. And at that time too, a large life insurance payout was made." I was at a loss for words. All the anxiety and fear I had been feeling suddenly became very real. "Lily, why didn't you tell me earlier?" I asked, tearing up. "I didn't want to worry you, Mom. Besides, I needed decisive evidence," Lily answered seriously. "With this incident, we can prove Michael's crimes." At that moment, Michael let out a pained voice. What did you do?" Lily looked down at Michael calmly. "You reap what you sow, Michael. You just fell into the trap you set yourself." My head was spinning with confusion and fear. My husband writhing in pain before my eyes, my daughter calmly explaining the situation, and the terrifying truth that had come to light. It all felt unreal, like a bad joke. "Lily, we need to call the police." I finally came to my senses and said. "I've already called them," Lily answered. "They should be here in about 10 minutes. Just as she said that, the doorbell rang. "Police. Please open the door." I opened the door with trembling hands. 2 uniformed police officers stood there with stern expressions. "Are you Sarah Thompson who called us?" one officer asked. "Why, yes," I answered weakly. When the officers entered the living room and saw Michael on the floor, they immediately sprang into action. One checked on Michael's condition while the other began taking our statements. Lily stepped forward and began explaining calmly. "This man tried to murder my mother. All the evidence is right here." She handed her tablet to the officer. As the officer looked at the screen, his expression grew increasingly serious. "This is quite substantial evidence," the officer exclaimed in surprise. "Ms. Thompson, young lady, would you mind coming down to the station to give us a more detailed account?" I nodded silently. It was decided that Michael would be taken to the hospital by ambulance, while we would head to the police station. Before getting into the police car, Lily took my hand. "It's okay, Mom. We won't let anyone hurt us anymore." At those words, I felt tears welling up. Feelings of fear, relief, and gratitude towards my daughter all came rushing in at once. As the police car started moving, I looked up at the night sky through the window. I don't know what lies ahead in our lives. But as long as Lily is with me, I believe we can overcome anything. The interrogation at the police station turned into a long night. The evidence Lily had gathered was more detailed and decisive than I had imagined. Not only Michael's criminal plans, but also his past crimes were coming to light. The next morning, we received a call from the police. They said that Michael's DNA matched the DNA left at the scene of his previous wife's suspicious death. This conclusively established Michael's criminal history. "Mrs. Thompson," the detective in charge addressed me. "Thanks to your daughter's quick thinking and courage, we were able to arrest a serial killer. Thank you very much." I nodded with mixed feelings. While Michael's arrest meant our safety, it also confronted us with the reality that we had to start our lives over again. When we returned home, concerned neighbors had gathered. News of the incident had spread throughout our small town. "Sarah, are you all right?" Mrs. Johnson, who lives next door, called out. "If you need anything at all, just let us know." Those words brought tears to my eyes. I realized that although I had felt lonely, we had actually been supported by many people all along. A few days later, an emergency meeting was held at the town hall. There, our situation was explained, and it was decided that the entire community would support us. "Let's all come together for Sarah and Lily," the mayor appealed. "They are our precious neighbors." Those words were met with a big round of applause from the audience. I was too moved for words and tightly squeezed Lily's hand. Mental health care also began. The town's psychological counselor visited our house once a week to help us overcome our trauma. "Sarah, Lily," Dr. Martinez, the counselor, gently addressed us. "What you've experienced is very difficult. But I believe you can overcome it together." Lily nodded silently and held my hand. That warmth gave me courage. As time passed, our emotional wounds began to heal little by little. As Michael's trial began and his crimes were revealed one after another, we were able to accept the past and start moving forward. The community's support continued, with neighbors taking turns cooking meals for us and supporting Lily's studies. Through this experience, I came to deeply appreciate the kindness of people and the importance of bonds. A year has passed since then. Our new life as mother and daughter is gradually taking shape. Lily won the local science contest and is further developing her talents. Her AI research has evolved into the development of a crime prevention system, attracting attention from many people. I've also started activities as a leader of a community support group. By supporting people who have had similar experiences, I feel that I'm healing myself as well. The bond between mother and daughter has grown even stronger than before. It's become our habit to reflect on each other's day and talk about our hopes for tomorrow every night before bed. "Mom," Lily said to me one night with a serious expression, "why don't we write a book about our experience? I think it could help people who are suffering in similar situations." Her suggestion touched my heart. "That's a wonderful idea, Lily. We've overcome a painful experience and are starting to walk towards a new goal. We can't change the past, but we can create our future with our own hands. That certainty gives us courage and hope. There will surely be difficulties ahead. But we have each other. And we have the warmth of our community. That thought makes our hearts strong and kind." 5 years later, our book, A Record of Love and Courage, has become a bestseller, giving hope to many people. Lily is now studying AI ethics at university, and I have established an NPO to support victims. Our painful experience has made us stronger and turned into a force to help others. Life is full of unexpected turns, but with love and courage, any difficulty can be overcome. That's the most important lesson we, mother and daughter, have learned.